Okay. So now we will look at something called the Global Gender Gap Report. Okay. Now, there is something called the gender score. This report studies situations in many countries and then gives them ranks based on how the gender parity is in their country. What does parity mean? It means that each gender is represented equally. Okay. Now, from the data, it is seen that gender parity is not recovering. It is not getting better. It will take another 132 years. Imagine, it will take another 132 years to close the global gender gap. That means the gap between the two genders, male and female. So far as all these things are concerned, economic participation, educational attainment, health and survival, political empowerment. Okay, so in all these areas, the gap between men and women is a lot in India. And if we are to look at the data of the Global Gender Gap Report 2022, the latest one, then there is this prediction that the situation is not very nice either, globally, internationally, and it will take another 132 years if we want to bring about real equality between men and women all over the world. Okay, so according to the latest report, 146 countries participated in this study, and India is given the rank of 135. Okay, so it is somewhere towards the latter half. Its position is not good. It means that the gender gap is high in India. And so far as economic participation of women is concerned, India's rank is even lower, that is 143. Now, this data was different, a little different in 2020. In 2020, India ranked 149th out of 153 countries. In that year, 153 countries had taken part in this study, and India's rank, so far as economic participation of women was concerned, India's rank was 149. Now, why did this happen at that time? Why was women's economic participation even lower? Because it was seen that the COVID-19 situation, it affected women's economic participation more than men. Many women, they lost their jobs. Okay, so if we compare the rate at which men lost their jobs with the rate at which women lost their jobs because of COVID-19, then we will find that women lost more jobs as compared to men. So it was a more difficult situation for women when the world was suffering from COVID-19, from this pandemic. Many women, both in India and in other countries, they lost more jobs than men. Okay, and that is why at that time India's rank was even lower. All right. So these are some data that we need to know in order to understand the reality about the gender gap, both globally as well as nationally in India. Okay. Then there is something called gender stereotyping at work. All right. So even today we say that, we have achieved women empowerment, and women are coming out and participating in decision making, and they are joining different kinds of jobs. But even today, jobs are heavily segregated. That means there is a separation done. These jobs are for men and these jobs are for women. Positions of nursery teachers, nurses, teaching jobs, front office managers, assistants, attendants, and secretary are occupied mostly by women, and these kinds of jobs are called pink collared jobs, because you see the color pink is usually associated with women. So those jobs which are usually reserved for women, or those jobs which women have a preference for, or those jobs which women are made to do if they want to do a job. That is the best definition of pink collared jobs. Then machine operators, captains of ships, members of the armed forces, CEOs of big companies, they happen to be men. That means this is a general belief. It's not that this is true for all men and all women, but generally this is believed. Okay, that these jobs women should do and these jobs should be reserved for men, because women will not be able to take up these challenging jobs. And those jobs which are reserved for men, or which are believed to be more challenging, those jobs are better paid. So that is why there is this disparity. So women are asked to join such jobs which are, paying less, and men are expected to join jobs which pay more. So naturally, this is the reason because of which there is this gender pay gap, the difference in pay between men and women. So those jobs which are better paid and men are expected to do those jobs, they are called white and blue collar jobs. Okay. All right. Now, we will talk about the gender pay gap. Now, while individual characteristics such as education, skills, or experience, they explain part of the gender pay gap. That means those who have better education, it is said, those who have better education, those who have better skills, those who have better experience, they will earn more. This is natural. But why do women not have the opportunity to have better education, better skills, and gain a better experience? Okay. Why? Because many a time they are expected to care for their families, and that is why they are expected to devote more time for family work. So they lag behind in these areas, in education, skills, or gaining experience so far as job is concerned. Okay. A large part of the gender pay gap can still be attributed purely to discrimination based on one's gender or sex. So there are some criteria like these education, skills, or experience which decide who will get a better paying job. But there is another thing, and that is discrimination based on gender, which decides beforehand that a man will have the opportunity to earn more than his female counterpart, than a woman. Okay. Now, gender-based discriminatory practices include lower wages paid to women for work of equal value. So for the same work or for work of equal value, often women are paid less. That happens in many you see organizations or factories where physical labor is concerned. So it would be said that a woman worker is not able to work hard and we are earning lesser profit. So if we get a woman worker, we will pay them less. And if there is a male worker, that male person will work more, and therefore we will pay him better wages. So these attitudes are there. For the same work, a woman would be paid less than the man. Then undervaluation of women's work in highly feminized occupations and enterprises, and motherhood pay gap. Okay. So in many, like we said, in these jobs which are usually kept for women or which are assigned to women, their payment or wage will be less. And if women workers are pregnant, they are going to be mothers, then there are further pay cuts. Okay, she's not able to work like she used to earlier, and therefore we cannot pay her. So a woman did not ask for this burden of childbearing and child care. So because she is doing this, the organization should support her, but it often happens otherwise. And pregnant women or women who have just become mothers, they are not preferred by many organizations, and in their place, even if they would be highly qualified, they are not preferred for the jobs. Rather, male candidates are preferred because they do not have this burden of childbearing, or they will not waste time having children and looking after children. So these are some attitudes which are there in our society and which dominate the job market, because of which it becomes really difficult for women to realize their full potentials and to pursue their dreams. Okay. Women also, this is another reality. Women prefer part-time jobs to regular ones. They like to do part-time jobs. Why? It helps them balance work and care burdens. But what happens? Part-time jobs are paid lower. They have lower salaries. Okay. So these are various factors because of which women, they end up doing those jobs where the payment is less, and therefore this gender pay gap is a big problem in India as well as in other countries. Now let us look at some constitutional provisions, okay, that India has for addressing this gender pay gap, how to reduce this inequality between men and women so far as salaries or pay is concerned. Now, one article, Article 39D, the legal principle of equal pay for equal work, that is equal, okay, the E is missing by mistake. The legal principle of equal pay for equal work, it is mentioned under Article 39D, Part 4 of the Constitution of India. It states that the state should direct its policy towards securing the objective that there is an equal remuneration for both men and women. So this principle of equal pay for equal work, that is found in Article 39D of the Constitution. Then there is another article, Article 41 of the Constitution, which provides that the state shall, within the limits of its economic capacity and development, make effective provision for securing the right to work. So if we are talking about the right to work, then it is found in Article 41 of the Constitution. Okay, so keeping in view the limits of the country's economic capacity, there needs to be provision of the right to work, the right to education, and to public assistance in cases of unemployment, old age, sickness, disablement, and in other cases of undeserved want. Okay, so if people are unemployed, if there is old age and people are suffering, if there are sick people, if there are disabled people, all these people, if they are not able to earn money, or if they are not able to work like other people, then some kind of assistance would be provided to them in seeking jobs, in having jobs, because everyone has the right to work. Okay, that is what the Article 41 says. So these are the two important constitutional provisions to address the gender pay gap. Then we have some international and national efforts that have been made to bridge the pay gap. These are some things that students need to remember from the point of view of the examination for the first semester of Ethics and Values paper. The Seneca Falls Convention. Okay, this was the first women's rights convention. It happened in New York in 1848. Then the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW. This is an important convention which was adopted in 1979 by the UN General Assembly. It is often described as an international bill of rights for women, and it includes a lot of issues which are important for women's rights because it aims at elimination. That means it aims that there should be no form of discrimination against women, no discrimination against women. Okay, so that is the aim of this convention. Then these two are international events that we must know. And there have been many efforts in India, like the Equal Remuneration Act, 1976, Minimum Wages Act, which ensures that a worker gets the minimum pay for a particular job and he or she is not exploited. So here women's exploitation at work is also addressed. So Minimum Wages Act 1948. Then there is something called the Equality Bill of 2019, drafted by the Center for Law and Policy Research in India. And it aims at providing different kinds of rights to women and other marginalized communities of the society. Those who don't enjoy majority, those who don't have that kind of power in society, for them the equality bill has been drafted. Then you must be knowing about the Maternity Benefit Act. It was passed in 1961 and it has subsequently been amended in 2017. So currently, at present, the duration of paid maternity leave is 26 weeks. Okay, for first time and second time mothers. So those who are pregnant for the first time or for the second time, they will get 26 weeks as paid maternity leave. So because of their motherhood, they won't be deprived of their salary. They won't lose their salary. So this provision was made for women in 1961. Before that, there was no such provision. Okay. Then there is something called a glass ceiling. So far as the conditions for work is concerned for women, okay, there is this concept called glass ceiling. Glass ceiling means what? It is there, but it is made up of glass. So it is often invisible or not seen by other people. The glass ceiling is a colloquial term for the social barrier preventing women from being promoted to top jobs in management. So it's a kind of local way, okay, of saying that there is something, there is some kind of a barrier, an imaginary barrier, okay, which stops women from going higher up in the hierarchy in offices. They cannot get the topmost positions They will only be at lower levels, because only when they are at the lower levels, they will be able to do justice to their family. So only men will occupy the topmost positions, those things that need the exercise of power, and those things that need decision making. All those jobs or all those spots, those positions will be reserved for men, and only the lower positions will be given to women. So that situation is called glass ceiling. Now, this particular term was coined by Marilyn Loden at a 1978 Women's Exposition in New York. The general bias against women's capabilities create sticky floors for them. So the concept of glass ceiling is connected with the concept of sticky floors. Okay, that means what? Women are not able to go up. They remain on the ground because the floors are sticky. That means the floors are holding them back. The floors are restricting their movement upwards in an organization. That is why the floors are said to be sticky for them. So the concept of glass ceiling is connected with the concept of sticky floors. Okay.